Okay, comment coming in from Julia Goldsmith, originally from London, now in Palm Beach Gardens. How can you be so sure the soul is looking down on earth? We have no evidence that the soul retains memory. And if it does, and they see what happens on earth, that may be very distressing. Example, wife remarries, son suffers depression, etc.
We give a very painful example. I was asked to speak to this couple, young couple, who had suffered a terrible tragedy. Their 6-year-old daughter, this gorgeous little kid, suffered an aneurysm. Very sudden, very unexpected, and died. In her house, the parents were not home. The parents were so devastated that although they had been very active in the Jewish community, in their synagogue, they observed Shabbat, the father put on tefillin, they were kind of a traditional family. But now that this happened, they don't want to go to the synagogue. They don't want to be part of the community. They don't observe Shabbat. He doesn't put on his tefillin. He's angry at God. He's angry at the community. And he doesn't want to hear from rabbis. Because he's heard it all, and it just makes it worse. There is no cure. There is no relief. In fact, they were planning to leave the city, to relocate. But they agreed to speak to me when I came into town. So I knew I had to say something that they hadn't yet heard, or they would be immediately turned off. So I said to the father, "Has your daughter contacted you yet?" That caught him by surprise. He said, "Yes." He was too ashamed to tell anybody because they'll think he's crazy. He says, "Yes, twice." I said, "What did your daughter tell you?" He said, "She didn't say anything. She just smiled and let me know that she's okay." I said, "Why did she have to come twice?" He didn't know. I said, "Let me make a suggestion. When a person dies, their soul continues to live. Only the connection between the soul and the body ends. Soul doesn't end. It continues to live, which means it retains its identity, its memories, its personality. It's not like some people believe that the soul goes to heaven and becomes an angel and all angels are alike, generic. No. Every soul retains its personality. It is still the same person. So a 6-year-old who passes away is still 6 years old and is still the daughter of her parents and still has the needs, the feelings, and the thoughts of a 6-year-old. Not the confusion that the body brings, but everything else. So I said to the father, "You stopped being her father. You became a griever, a mourner. You've neglected your daughter. She is 6 years old. She is in heaven. She finally got comfortable there. And you're blaming all your pain on her. The reason you don't put on tefillin is because of her. The reason you don't go to the synagogue anymore is because of her." Does she need this? Is this good for a 6-year-old to see her father crying all the time? Why did you stop being her father? Ask yourself, what does she need? She's 6 years old. It was amazing. 20-minute conversation. And the father said, should I put on my tefillin now or wait till I get home? When I asked this guy, has your daughter communicated? I knew the answer would be yes. It is such a common thing. Now, many people dismiss it as, well, I was thinking about her, so I dreamt about her. No. It has always been, we've always known that one way or another, a soul will communicate with those left behind. Either directly, like a daughter to the father, or to someone else with a message to the parents, which is even more common. So this has been this is not a belief, it's not a guess. It's a common human experience. Sometimes it's even more dramatic, where a father will come to dreams of a daughter or a son and warn them of a danger that actually happens the next day. So it's part of life. It's not a guess. It's not wishful thinking. It's real. Now, can that be stressful? So in the case of a husband and wife, the husband in heaven is happy to see his wife remarry. In fact, the husband can't really rest until the wife has settled into a new life, because he feels a little responsible. With parents and children, the parent looking down and seeing the child suffering pulls some strings in heaven, trying to help the son like a mother would do if she was on earth. So the mother has purpose. The mother has life, can make a difference. And that's why a cemetery in Hebrew is called a Bet HaChaim, a place of life, not a place of death. Because the souls in heaven have a life. They don't take up space. They don't have an existence, but they have a life. They're doing stuff for their children. They take pleasure in their children's good behavior. They come to the synagogue at Yizkor to hear their children make pledges of tzedakah for them. They're very much alive. So yes, it could be stressful, but what's a mother for, if not to worry about her child?
Rabbi Friedman, I'd like to apply this on a very practical level. This whole concept, which again I thought was beautiful, to the harsh reality of grown children who are struggling with substance abuse, who are struggling with addictions and unhealthy attachments. Children that seem to have fallen so far away from the tree that the parent is left scratching their heads trying to figure out, where did I go wrong? They're no longer able to even communicate effectively with the child, if at all.
Where did I go wrong is not the question, it's the answer. If you're worried about where you went wrong, that's where you went wrong. A mother gets all dressed up. She's going out to a very important event, and she's in her best clothes and all made up and so on. And then her 4-year-old falls down the stairs and bloodies his mouth. And the mother says, I don't need this. What's inappropriate about that reaction? Nobody was suggesting that you need this. In fact, nobody's talking about you at all. All the attention is on this poor kid who's bleeding from his mouth. Whether you needed it or not is so irrelevant because you're not the topic right now. It's the child. So when a child is, God forbid, hooked on addictive substances, and the mother says, "What did I do wrong?" No. We're not talking about you right now. You're not the one in trouble. So what's happening is the mother has stepped out of the mothering role. You're not mothering, you're philosophizing. You're becoming an educator. Don't do that. Your child really needs a mother right now. Don't stop being a mother. Don't become a nurse. Don't become a psychiatrist. Don't become a psychologist. Don't become a policeman. And don't become indignant. You ungrateful child, after what I did for you. No, just be a mother. Just be a father. So what happens very often, kid gets into real serious trouble, in and out of hospitals, in and out of treatment centers, in and out of jail. And the parents get into a big argument about who's right. Is this what the child needs? Now is a time for the parents to talk about their marriage? No. Stay the course. Your child needs you to be parents, nothing else. Nothing else. Now, of course, parents will find a cure, will look for a cure, will try to find the treatment and the doctor but as parents, don't become professionals. In some cases, don't even listen to the professionals. You know your child. Trust your instincts, particularly your maternal instincts, because that's what the kid needs. You know, you've heard of Herman Wouk, the writer. Great writer, very successful, bestsellers, every one of them. Many of them were turned into a mini-series on television. A really special guy. In his 80s, he wrote a book just about Jewish life. And he speaks about how his grandfather introduced him to the study of Talmud, which he continued all his life, and how his grandfather was an inspiration. He came from Russia, full of enthusiasm, full of ambition. And in the epilogue to this book that he wrote in his 80s, he writes something like this. The reader might get the impression that Zaidi was the center of my life. Not so. It was Papa. It was always Papa. All I ever wanted in my life was to be like Papa. Here's an 80-year-old man who is far more successful than his Papa. It took him 80 years. And he admits that all he really wants is to get approval from his Papa. It never ends. You never outgrow it. All he wants is his Papa to be his Papa. That's all. Sure, Grandpa was the life of the party, but did not replace Papa. So the father's role is only and always to be the father. And the mother's role is to be a mother. And it may be difficult, and times it is really, really difficult, but you've got to be proud of your kids at every age. Despite their failures, despite their problems, And despite your disappointments in them, you have to be proud of them. Whatever it is they're doing, be proud. Tell them, let them know that you're proud. Sometimes you can't put it in words because they won't believe you, but you got to demonstrate it. They have to hear you saying it to somebody else. It will make a huge difference in their life and in your life. So, for example, God forbid a child takes his own life. Talking to a mother whose child took his own life, and she says, "What a waste." I said, "That's not a good attitude. Imagine if your son was alive and heard you say that about him. What a waste." That would hurt. It wasn't a waste. He struggled with a darkness. He struggled with an evil impulse and won 100 times. The 101st time, he was worn out. He couldn't do it anymore, and he succumbed. But what about all those victories? Nobody kills himself on a whim. People who have these suicidal tendencies, for years, they fight it and they suffer through it and they push through and they deny it and they refuse it. And every time they do, they're heroes. These are giants in moral fortitude. Of course, eventually it wears you down. But to say it was a wasted life, that's what you think of your child? And that's even after the child is gone. God forbid. Certainly when the child is alive. Don't focus on the failures. Focus on the strengths. Focus on the goodness, the kindness, the gentleness, the efforts that the kid is making. And then find resources, support systems, whatever it takes. But the first thing is, you're taking care of your child because you're proud of them, not because they're so pathetic. Nobody wants to be thought of as pathetic.
Now, Rabbi Friedman, when the relationship breaks down to the point where not only are you struggling to communicate, but the child is in full-blown rebellion mode, where they're actively rebelling against pretty much everything that the parent represents, potentially because they're trying to spite the parents. Maybe they were starved of that love, and now they're rebounding in the opposite direction. Are you suggesting that the emotion of unconditional love, the emotion of how much I need you and how much I love you, which is just channeled from parent to child, even if not verbally communicated, will reach the child?
Yeah,
and
but
can you elaborate on that?
Don't confuse love with need. Children who weren't loved do not rebel because they want love. They know they're not going to get it by rebelling. So what are they trying to do? You have to go with the assumption that whatever a person does is an attempt at improving. It's a survival. It's a survival technique. They're trying to survive. They're trying to get things right. They're not trying to destroy. Even suicidal people are not trying to destroy themselves. They're trying to make themselves better desperately, right? So if a child is rebelling, doesn't want to hear from you, doesn't want your advice, it's not because you don't love them. Because if what they wanted was your love, they would act differently. They know how to get love. Everybody knows. They don't want love. They didn't feel needed. They feel like they're not necessary in your life, so they're going to go off and find where they are necessary. So you don't need me? Well, I'll find it on my own, elsewhere. Assume, and it's a safe assumption, your children, whatever they're doing, are mistakenly doing what they think will make their life better. They're not trying to destroy you, and they're not trying to destroy themselves. They think they're doing better. Now, they may be all wrong, but don't doubt their motivation. In some way, you should be able to agree with them. In some way, they're trying to make their life better. Well, why aren't you applauding them for that? You may disagree. What you're doing is not going to make your life better. But why can't you applaud the fact that they're trying so hard to make a better life? So instead of being angry at them and resentful, you should be a little more compassionate. It's like a person sinking in the quicksand, and all they're doing is kicking and getting themselves in deeper and deeper. So you get angry at them, or you have compassion. Yeah, what they're doing is not helping. But what are they trying to do? They're trying to get the life together. They're trying to create a life. You should support them in that. Let me give a very, really good example. Again, from a marriage. This couple come, middle-aged couple. They come for marriage counseling. She is in shock because he, after many years of marital bliss, he wants a divorce. Immediate. And he's not open to any compromise. He just wants a divorce. What happened? He struggled making a living for most of his life, and he finally put together $30,000, which he then invested, and he blew it. He lost the $30,000. He, of course, was devastated. His wife said to him, and this is really amazing, his wife said to him, "It's okay, it's just money." He hates her. He can't look at her. He wants a divorce immediately. And she said, "What? I'm supporting you. I'm comforting you. I'm telling you you don't need to be depressed about this because it's just money, and you hate me for that?" You see what happened here. She didn't empathize. She didn't share his pain. It was too glib. What she said was right, and she meant well. She says, just money. And to him it sounded like, yeah, you're all upset, and but that's ridiculous. You don't need to be upset. This is support? This is what you call sympathy? You stand there like a stranger, dismissing my pain as if it weren't valid? See, if she had first shared his pain and then said, "You know what? We'll overcome this because it's just money," then she would be his hero. She didn't do that. In other words, instead of being his wife, she became his preacher. just when he needed his wife the most. So we can't switch hats. We got to stay loyal to who we are in every relationship. Don't become something other than a mother when your children need a mother more than anything else. Will that help? It's the only thing that helps. Everyone needs a mother. Let somebody else be the preacher. You be the mother. So, two things. First of all, find something to admire in your child, no matter how bad the kid messed up, or no matter how nasty the child is acting towards you. They're just trying to get their life together. Mistakenly, childishly, foolishly, but that's what they're trying to do. Isn't that what you want them to do? So give them your approval, give them your admiration, and they will blossom. They'll struggle, they'll find their way, and they'll land on their feet, and you will have nachas from them. But if you start pushing and you start preaching and you start condemning and you start criticizing, even if it's only in your mind, not helpful. Not helpful. At first, a little sympathy, a little empathy. Share their pain. Don't dismiss it. No, I never did that to you. You have no reason to be upset. Before you dismiss the pain, share it, feel it, be in it with them. Then, as an insider, you have a right to say it's not that serious. But as an outsider, not nice.
Rabbi Friedman, that was a sensational presentation. I'd like to thank you for being here with us this evening. I didn't cut you off, right?
No, but we're ending on a very heavy note.
That's why I was about to ask you if you had a closing comment before we wrapped it up.
Yeah. Yes, the lighter side of all of this is that every child has three partners in their birth: the mother, the father, and God. There are things that a father can do, there are things that a mother can do, and there are things that only God can do. If you find that your hands are tied and there's nothing more you can do for your child, well, then let the third partner take over. He's as committed as you, maybe more. So don't give up on your kid when you can't help. Help will come from heaven, always. So never give up. You're not alone in this battle. God cares very much about Jewish children. He cares very much about every individual. And your child is not abandoned even when you can't reach him. Let the third partner do his part. You want to give him credit, he also has to take some responsibility. And he does. He does. So don't feel defeated. Humbled, maybe. You know, we think we can do everything for our children and we can be their mother, father, and God. But no, we can't. So just do your part, a third of the responsibility, and leave God's part to him. If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic, and you're looking for more information, or you want to hear it again from another angle, there's a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon. You can read it, reread it, and share it. We have a Sunday night program for VIPs that you might be interested in. It's informal, it's questions and answers, it's conversation. It's really relaxed, it's really pleasant, enjoyable, informative, and kind of community-like. It's a Sunday night program. There's a Wednesday morning program for the VIPs, and there's a Wednesday night program. All of it just conversation, casual, laid back, unscripted. So join us, take a look, click the link below and see which of the three suits you best, and join us for some enjoyable conversation.